how do you add security to your AI-driven development lifecycle? So this year at Next, I got to talk to hundreds of developers and security engineers whose teams are all adopting AI for generating code. One thing that I found was that all of them had questions about how to ensure code quality and also how to ensure the security is added as early as possible. One of the issues that we see when people first start experimenting with using AI to create code is they give it this huge, large mandate without much context, and then it generates a lot of code. And that's great for just getting started, but really in a mature development lifecycle, having these huge batch sizes is actually very difficult for review and for proper security testing. But what we saw from our research with DORA, DevOps Research and Assessment, was that having smaller batch sizes actually had a very positive impact on product performance. So small batch sizes led to a lot more stability. It also reduced friction, so it reduced PR review times, it reduced security needing to go back and tell dev teams about a vulnerability. So we can see that the smaller the size, the easier it is for all the teams involved. Now, one of the ways to get a smaller batch size is to constrain the scope of what the agent is writing. And one of the ways to do this is through context engineering, where you're giving the agent all of the parameters it needs to write code in the way that you want to read it. We see that this has a very positive impact on code quality also when the agent has access to the code base. And in addition to that, when the agent is aware of the documentation, the APIs, that can improve the developer's individual effectiveness using the agent. So the same factors that work well for human developers also work well for agents. The strategy here is to divide everything that we're trying to create into little slices with a test at the front that represents user behavior. And we want to really focus on what the user is experiencing or what the purpose of the system is in the test. We don't want to obsess over the implementation details. That actually can lead to very brittle tests that make it very difficult to refactor. So here's just an example of a context file that I wrote, and you can see that I'm giving my agent specific instructions on what type of helper functions to use, how to support security by validating user input, and so forth. And finally, we can scale this context across our entire project or even across our organization if we see it's really helping us. Finally, we also have the opportunity to use both our own security tools and those from some of our partners to help us scan our code for security issues as early as possible. And so in this example, I'm running a scan as a pre-commit hook. So before my agent is able to commit code, there has to be some external validation that there's been a security test. Now, it's important to also keep in mind that we don't want to rely entirely on context. We want to have all the same traditional steps and checks in place, just so that if there's anything that goes wrong with the agent or it skips a pre-commit hook, we have other things in our pipeline to catch those issues. So what we're seeing now with the paradigm is to have both all of the traditional controls that we once had to give us that assurance and consistency, and to take advantage of all the new things we have with agents, with giving them context and really taking advantage of their power to ship very high throughput.